The first Invictus raid is here, and I do have to say I don't ever pay attention to the art, but the artwork for this raid is pretty cool. Hey everyone, Derpy here, and welcome back to another Battle Pirates video. Today I'm going to go through the level 100 target using 4 Invictus or Invicti in the current raid, the Apostate raid, and I'm going to do this using 4 ships with no evade flagship and no evade ship on here. For that reason, I'm going to take more damage than if I had built ship number 4, for instance, as evade and built it wrong, but when I get the flagship built out, hopefully by the end of this raid, I'm going to not need to do a bunch of refits. Now I am using a Sea Serpent's crew, and I would highly recommend, unless you are sensitive to light flashes and stuff like that, you go on to effects and turn on projectile explosions and particle effects. This will enable you to see the shockwaves from your weapons and, more importantly, from the phlogiston turrets. These guys are really dangerous, and you need to make sure you kill it before it fires a second time at you, because you will almost certainly get shockwave in that case. Now I do want to go through the different turret types before I start hitting the target, because I think it's very important to understand those. The first turret is a Gatling gun. This guy has very low range. You can auto and outrange this one perfectly fine. Don't need to worry about him. We also have the Phlogiston turret, this one I mentioned before. This is accuracy based and evade works against this thing, but if this does shockwave, it's going to damage every ship in the fleet. We have a ballistic dumbfire turret that I believe does area of effect / splash damage. If you stay moving, you can avoid most of the damage from this one. We also have a radioactive turret that does splash damage as a thrower. If you stay moving, you can avoid most, if not all, of the damage from this one, and that's even without D5 EV armor. Now you also do have the turret that has a firing arc here. Make sure to stay out of the way of these. These do some pretty nasty amounts. They do some pretty nasty amounts of damage. Now there's a few other things in the target to pay attention to. One of those is the center thrower, the ballista type turrets. These guys shoot outward and basically do damage in a line at random if it's at the start and middle whatsoever. You should never need to cross this line when they're firing. There's also a center control building here. It has a few different modes. Mode 1 is basically a giant red ring that does a lot of damage, and you can knock this down into Mode 2 by killing one of these 2 larger exterior buildings. Mode 2, you'll see, is a smaller red ring that does a lot of damage that you want to stay out of. Mode 3 happens when you kill both of these 2 buildings, and that gets down into a very short range thing you can outrange when you're targeting that one. So that's the story on the target. Let's go ahead turret cluster by turret cluster and start taking these down. I will also mention you have a very powerful weapon, a thrower, on your directional arc right here. Make sure you use that. It really does help kill things more quickly. Now I'm going to go through here first, and what I want to do is start attacking this ballistic turret. I'm going to sit in its damage ring if I have to, but hopefully I'll duck in and out and only take a little bit of damage from that one. Now if he only fires one time, that's fantastic, and I can even do some splash damage to everyone else. The second thing I'm going to do is check I'm not in range of the heavy turret, and then I'm going to click on and kill the phlogiston launcher. This guy is very bad news, and you want to make sure you kill it as quickly as possible, because even with a evade crew on here and probably evade alliance points, I take some splash damage some time from this one. You want to make sure before you kill the next turret that the debuff arrow that appears at the bottom here is gone. A few other things here. There's the radioactive turret. Let's go ahead and splash up and then start moving against this one. He does outrange you, but again, if you stay moving, I actually can't tell if you avoid 100% of the damage, but you avoid most of the damage if you stay moving. And then let's go ahead and knock out the Gatling gun. Again, outrange this guy, not the end of the world. Next up, we have a ballistic turret. Let's go ahead and kill this one and just stay moving once I start firing at this one to get out of the way more quickly. Kill a few other things, splash damage, whatever. If you can use your thrower to damage everyone else around, that's fantastic, but not required. Phlogiston, go ahead and get that guy down very quickly, and then I'm going to, I guess I should say I misspoke, this is just a radioactive turret. Get that guy down quickly. Then there is a Phlogiston turret. I'm going to quickly go ahead and get into range and kill this one, and make sure I start shooting at him basically before anyone else, just to ensure it goes down quickly and I'm not stuck, taking lots of damage I don't need to. And again, if you ever get a shockwave, which my ship just did, that's pretty unlucky, and my evade flagship built, when it does exist and does come out, the build exists, the ship does not exist for me yet, it will reduce damage taken by that one. There is again the Gatling gun. You can outrange that one, not the end of the world. We have the, firing arc turret, not worried about him. So let's go ahead and kill the radioactive guy, just hit him and start moving away while staying out of range of everyone else around here. I will also mention I generally have a lot of low rarity weapons on here, as well as no armor on the ships, which means that most people will generally even do better than I do if they have their fleet partially built up. Okay, grab the radioactive guy, and we're going to duck towards the interior of the target here. Make sure you stay away from this orange ring because it can be pretty painful, but I do want to use the opportunity to grab the Gatling gun, and maybe even just duck forward and hit the phlogiston when I'm behind the firing arc of the other guy. And again, if he does get a shockwave off on you, it's basically unluckiness, and in my mind, Kixeye has some pretty rude tuning where they require us to use the flagship to avoid damage in both Strike 1 and Raid 1, when it is not fair to have us build the flagship before it even exists, and even not fair to have us build the flagship before we even hit the first target in Raid 1. I have suggested that they basically kick Strike back out by a month to have Raid 1 be the first case we hit these targets in, but whatever. Now, taking a look at a few other things in the target here, a few other things are left. I'm going to circle up to the... Let's actually go ahead and think about this one. There's the phlogiston right here in the center. I want to basically come at him directly. There's a few things on the bottom, and I think I'm going to go from this angle right here. What I want to do is actually hit the Gatling gun first without anyone else shooting at me, which I think I can happen by just staying pretty far away. Ballistic turret shooting at me, not going to panic, not the end of the world. There is a small amount of guaranteed damage that I took that I basically didn't need to from not moving when he was attacking me. But this does set me up for clicking on the phlogiston launcher and getting that guy down as soon as possible, and I'm even out of range of the other two turrets, so they're not shooting at me. Taking the radioactive one down, let's go ahead and get close and then start moving away from this one, loop back in towards the left. What I think I'm going to do is go from the bottom on this particular turret cluster, so I can kill these two turrets before engaging anyone else, and I think the ballista is shooting the other direction. That's perfect. I want to make sure I kill everything far away from the phlogiston if possible, and even use my thrower, which does, again, ramp up as you keep firing. I can use my thrower to help do a little bit of splash damage onto some things in this target, including the big bad dangerous ones. Okay, a few things are shooting at me that I don't really want to stay stopping for, so I'm going to, again, keep moving. Phlogiston is down to half health, and now that he's the only one there, I can actually get close and take him down. Now, I will mention that the first time I hit this target was on auto, and I got just about 35 minutes of repair. The second time I hit the target, and first time I ever drove it, I got over an hour of repair. And this time, I'm hoping for 20 minutes or so of repair, and we'll have to see how well I do on that one. Okay, now the dilemma I'm in right here is that there are two turrets. They're both going to do damage to me, and I'm going to hit the radioactive turret first and the phlogiston second. As soon as I hit the radioactive, I'm going to switch and click over to the phlogiston. And stay moving here, and then pivot to line up and do splash damage onto both of them, and just stay moving a little bit. So what you can see from this target is I'm taking a ton of damage because of the evade is I think the primary reason I'm taking a ton of damage, and that is because of the mechanic with the phlogiston launcher. Now, taking a look here at the results in terms of the battle report, you can see there is quite a bit of ballistic damage. This is likely from stopping in the dumbfire weapon for one of the ballistic turrets, and then the radioactive damage, a good portion of this is evaded, and that is from the phlogiston. Obviously, the things from the throwers will not show up in the evaded category. And if you are curious, here is the damage I dealt to the enemy. Now, taking a look at this one, it's actually pretty similar to my auto damage results. This indicates to me that I should put on armor that's 50-50, half ballistic, half radioactive. You can make an argument for a few other things, including D5 EV, if you want to drive every target every time. Taking a look at the battle results, I got 35 minutes and 49 seconds of repair, which is basically the same that I got on auto, which I do find pretty interesting. It could be some luckiness based on the damage from the ballistic, from the phlogiston. It could be that I stopped too much in the ballistic turrets. I did say I would show you the build, and here's what I've got so far. As you can see, it's pretty standard uncommon weapons, common weapons, whatever, with no armor. I guess I do have a single armor plate on one ship, but he's also U2 and not fully ranked. And then the other ships are built with the same damage setup. I am going to go for the evade build on the flag that I showed in every other video. The reason why it is on the flagship is because the flagship, instead of having 200 million armor, has 225 million armor. I was guessing 220. That means that everything with Kingkiller in the target, like the Phlogiston, will shoot at the flagship first, which means that the flagship needs to be the evade ship, is the short story. If you built ship number 5 as an evade ship, it's not going to get it shot at first, even if it's closer. So there's the video on the 100. I will make another video on the 101 here pretty shortly, as well as some of the Defiance targets, and expect to check back on the channel in a few days to see if I've got one with an evade flag out there. If you do have any questions, go ahead and let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll do my best to reply back to you. I want to give a huge shout out to the channel members whose names appear on the end screen now. They're helping make videos like this one published the day of the raid possible. Until next time, this is Derpy signing out, helping you be a better pirate.